welcome to this explainer. For centuries, traditional stories haven't just used celestial bodies to explain the night sky. They've actually used them as a mirror for our own internal worlds. Today, we're diving straight into what ancient sky fables can teach us about our very own psychological archetypes.
So, before we even unpack the folklore, I want you to ask yourself a quick question. Are you more like the intense, dynamic sun or the calm, thoughtful moon? Keep those distinct personality traits and values in mind as we go through this, because as you'll see, these celestial bodies are about to get incredibly human.
All right, let's jump into part 1, the moon's gentle empathy.
We're going to kick things off with a classic tale of a cosmic family dinner. So picture this. Mother Star is waiting patiently at home while the sun, the moon, and the wind go out for a lavish feast. And there's a huge, sharp contrast in how these siblings behave. The sun and the wind, they just absolutely gorge themselves. They ate everything in sight, totally consumed by their own selfish pleasures. But the moon took a completely different approach. Being mindful and empathetic, she actually hid a little piece of every single dish to take back home to her mother. When they finally got back, the moon showered all these choice dishes down for her mother. And in return, Mother Star blessed her with these exact words. Because you thought of someone else besides yourself, you will always be cool and calm. It's a beautiful moment, right? The moon's selflessness literally forged this eternally calming, beloved presence in the night sky. It's the ultimate reward for that empathetic archetype. Moving right along to part 2. The sun's two faces. Now, the sun actually represents a really fascinating duality here. Because of his selfish indulgence at that same cosmic dinner, Mother Star cursed him. His punishment for totally forgetting about her was that his rays would always burn hot, essentially forcing people to hide from him. Basically, he was branded with this harsh, burning ego that just repels people. It's the direct consequence of purely self-centered behavior. But wait, the sun isn't just some one-note villain. In a totally different fable, where he gets challenged by the arrogant wind, we get to see a radically different side of his personality emerge, one of gentle, steady warmth.
Which brings us to part 3, force versus warmth.
Okay, so let's look at this competition. To prove who was the most powerful, the wind challenged the sun to a contest. The goal, force a walking man to take off his winter coat. The wind goes first, and he relies entirely on brute force. He blows fiercely, but the angrier and wilder he gets, the more the man just wraps his coat tighter and tighter. Ultimately, the wind practically blows himself to exhaustion, and the man is just huddled there, freezing by the road. The wind's force created absolutely nothing but bitter resistance. Conversely, the sun achieves total victory without even breaking a sweat. His winning strategy? A simple, escalating smile. He smiles a little bit, and the man feels a bit better. He smiles bigger, and the man starts to warm up. Soon enough, the man is sweating and just willingly flings his coat aside to escape the heat. Instead of trying to match the wind's crazy fury, the sun used the totally irresistible power of gentle warmth. And the wind's realization here is just a profound lesson for us all. He admits, I underestimated the effect of gentleness. He honestly thought only brute power could make things happen in the world. And it prompts a really great question for our own lives. Do we rely way too much on force and anger in our daily conflicts when just a pleasant demeanor could achieve what brute force literally cannot? Let's pivot a bit for part 4, the power of sharing. Now, let's look at a perfect earthly parallel to that cosmic selfishness we saw earlier. Enter the selfish giant. He banishes all the playing children from his beautiful garden and builds this massive, imposing wall to keep them out. And what happens? Well, through these harsh, isolating actions, his garden immediately falls into an eternal, desolate winter. Sound familiar? Just like the cursed sun with his burning ego, the giant's self-isolation creates an environment completely devoid of life or joy, taken over entirely by snow, frost, the north wind, and hail. But it isn't until the children actually sneak back in through a hole in the wall that the ice finally begins to melt. The giant realizes his terrible mistake. Hoarding beauty only destroys it. The very second he shifts his mindset from selfishness to empathy, the trees turn green again. Empathy literally brings the spring. Just look at this timeline of the giant's redemption. It's amazing how quickly choosing empathy transforms a lonely existence. Within literally 1 minute of his realization, the giant grabs an axe and tears down his own wall. Over the next 10 years, he finds immense joy playing with those kids every single day. And after a lifetime of this newly found connection, he departs to paradise peacefully. It's a complete reimagining of what a fulfilled life looks like. All right, let's bring it all together in part 5, Archetypes in the Real World. Ultimately, these aren't just quirky children's stories, right? They are brilliant blueprints mapping out exactly how our internal traits dictate our external reality. As we can see, the moon's core value of empathy guarantees a calm, beloved presence. The wind's brute force, that guarantees bitter resistance. And while we saw the giant selfishness and isolation bring an eternal winter, we also saw the sun prove that choosing gentle warmth over a scorching ego can melt the absolute hardest of defenses.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Which celestial archetype are you going to bring to your relationships tomorrow? Are you going to default to the demanding force of the wind and the isolating walls of the giant? Or will you choose the gentle warmth of the sun and the mindful, cool empathy of the moon? Because as these fables prove, the warmth you put out into the world might be the exact thing required to bring the spring.